So today, as we have outlined, there are a few tips and tricks that we'd like to go over. A few that I'm going to show you are some items that I noticed in deployment are requested. First thing I want to go through is actually in bin passing. And as I show you my main screen, we have my dashboard. Okay, and in my dashboard, I'll be able to bin pass any project that I've created to another user. Keep in mind that this right is assigned to you by your system admin. So if you don't have the ability to see that, you can speak to them. To bin pass a project that I've already created, and let's say I wanted to hand it over to another user named Joe, I can simply highlight the project, right-click, go to Pass Manager, and select the user who I'd like to pass this project to. I'll select Joe and pass that project to him. I get this pop-up here telling me that the ownership will now be sent to Joe, and I will no longer have it under my proposals. I'm going to send him a little note. Here you go, Joe. Please take care of this. Joe then gets a note in his email, and now my project is not under my proposals anymore. Next thing I'd like to do is show how to create job templates. Now, WeSuite, as us WeSuite users, we've created some job templates here for you to actually see. If you notice, there are values here, dollar values. The first thing I want to do is show you the different types of job templates that we've created. The uses of job templates, we have a few. First use is if I created a job previously, I'm able to copy that job and create a brand new project with that job template. And another thing is I can actually have a job template as a skeleton job template with different types of folder levels. The different types of folder levels that we have are folder level 1, which is pretty common with everybody. We have folder level 2s. For instance, if I have one house and that has multiple floors that I'd like to have different systems added to, I can easily do that and organize it per floor, having different systems in there. And if I even want to go more granular, I can have a level 3. So let's say I have a school and I have different buildings for those schools that have different floors in them. I can do the same. Next thing I'd like to do is I'll open one of my job templates here. And as you can see, I have parts that are included in each folder. If I wanted the CCTV system parts to be in my floor 2, I can simply highlight the folder, drag it, and drop those parts into the folder. Now, once I highlight that folder, those parts are now included. Please note that copying items is only the parts, if you notice. So if I wanted to add an RMR item, I'd actually have to search for that RMR item and include it in this folder. One other thing to keep in mind too is I can actually copy an individual part and add it to another folder. Also notice here you have your pop-up. I can add any amount of that part into that folder. Next thing I also want to add here is my one-time part, since we're adding parts. This functionality has been in WeEstimate for a while, but for anyone that is in an older version, we have now updated this, this feature. Not only can you add individual labor hours to the specific item that you're adding, you can also add that part to multiple folders in one time. So I will add a brand new part here, and I'll call it Panasonic. My description here would be a 360 camera color. Okay. My list price would be $50. Okay. And notice as I type in my list price, it automatically gives me my cost, my margin. Okay. And this is also set up by a system admin here. Next, I want to add my hours here. I'll add 1 hour of install. Okay, and I also wanted to include this Panasonic camera in all 4 of these folders. I click Add. So now I get this pop-up saying that the one-time part has been added successfully. Once that's done, I can just click Finish. Okay, and now my one-time part has been added to my folders. So if I go to each individual folder, you'll have that purple highlighted one-time part. Next thing I want to show you guys is your packages here. So packages can be created in two different ways. You have your global package, and you have a package that's created by the individual user. If you'd like to create a package for yourself, you can simply go into Tools, Package Editor, and you can add a package, name the new package, so commercial, residential. This checkbox here, the global package checkbox, will only be available for system admins. So anybody that is not a system admin, this will be grayed out. And I would just click Continue. What would look familiar with this screen is that I have a search bar here, and I have my default folder here. This looks pretty similar to your estimate screen. So I'm sure you can see that we'll probably be dragging and dropping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my package here. I'm going to search for some parts here. And again, I just need to highlight the part, drag it, and drop it under to the default folder. I then get this pop-up to enter how many of that camera I'd like to add. You can just click OK. I want one of that. If I see that I picked the wrong Vista 20p part, I can simply check this box off, and it'll exit out of that part. Okay. Once I've built my package, I just click Close Package. And now, if I look for my residential camera system, I now have that. Okay. Next thing I want to do is, once I've created my package, I now want to add it to my job. So I can simply scroll down, find my residential camera system, and now add it to my CCTV. Okay. I'll then get this pop-up here that asks how many of this package do I want to include in the job. So I just want one of these systems, and I click OK. I'm also given another pop-up which asks me if it's an outright sale or a lease. If I bring in a package as an outright sale, it brings in the package as if it were individual parts. So this is one of those tips to use to create packages for yourself. If you sell the same parts over and over again, and it's multiple parts, it would make it easier for you to bring in a package and sell almost immediately here. The other choice here for lease, it brings in a package as a fixed price. If you added a package and sell it for $99, it would bring in that package for $99. So for the time being, I'm going to use my outright sale and click OK. So now the package that I entered has been put into my CCTV folder. I also want to add it to my other CCTV folder for consistency. Okay, great. Last thing I do want to go through too is labor. If I had any hours allotted to my package, I can have that labor, those labor hours brought in to my labor grid if my auto calculate is turned on. If I wanted to add hours because 48 hours wasn't enough, I can go into the add quantity column and just add more hours. This then adds the hours here in the total quantity. One thing you'll notice here also is that I have my folder level labor on. There are two ways to show labor. You have your folder level labor and you have your project level labor. Typically, folder level labor is selected if you as a company would like to allot hours to individual folders. Now, as you can see, as I start highlighting the different folders, it'll show me the hours that have been allotted to each individual folder. If I'd like to assign labor to the whole project because I don't know how much time it would take to install the access control in the first floor versus the second floor, I can turn off my folder level labor, which would then add up all of the labor hours under the different labor categories that I've created. Now that I've built my job, the next thing I want to do is I want to create a document. So I go to my document screen. Again, always remember to add a quote package. I can rename my document anything I'd like. And I can also rename the job name that gets shown on the project screen. Okay. So I'm going to name it a new. Okay. And I click continue. Now notice here I have a long list of checkboxes. One thing that can help you with a shortcut here is what we call template maintenance. I can pick any templates that I've created, which would then show check boxes that I've checked off, so it's easier for me to generate a document. Okay, you're able to create that by going into template maintenance, clicking new, naming your template, which would then allow you to check off any of the checkboxes you'd like to show every time that you select that specific template. Next thing I want to go through here is your scope of work, which again, you're able to have templates as well. What you want to do is you want to click Add New Template, name your template, type in your scope of work, your standard scope of work. Okay, and just click Save. Once you save that, it will then show under this list of template names that you're able to select from. You can also create templates in your cover letter, which is also the same process. Okay. And the next thing I'd want to do is I want to generate a quote, just to make sure that my numbers add up and everything is presenting correctly. So if you notice here, my new integrated system is what I named it, what I renamed it. And I want to make sure that all of my information is correct. So before I hand it off to Samantha, I just wanted to let you guys know that your template maintenance is done per user. So every user will have this ability, because Sam might sell to somebody differently than I would. So it is per user. This is not something that a right has to be given to you.
And one thing that is definitely a great tip and a huge time saver is our WeSuite and eOriginal integration. For those of you who are not using eOriginal, definitely give me a call and we can check it out together. It is going to be a big part of how WeEstimate is used in the future, and for even how you're using WeEstimate now. I'm sure many of you are exporting your documents or sending via Outlook, but what WeEstimate has integrated in for you is being able to have contracts and have those electronically signed by your customers. This saves a lot of time having to drive to the sites, and you know, I'm sure a lot of you understand the pains of trying to get a signed document here. So, and I'm going to just go straight to the document screen, and I'm ready to sell this package. So I'm going to click on my quote package. I'm going to go to my contracts tab. I'm going to find the contract that I'd like to send, and again, select my send for electronic signature. So here I'm going to select my purchase agreement. Now I could, if I wanted to, send multiple documents at the same time. That's great, you know, for those of you that are maybe having to send monitoring agreements and a credit card authorization form, maybe a tech spec sheet. All the documents that need to be signed can be sent together in a packet. And here I would just select who I would like to send the signature to. So for today's demonstration, we're going to go ahead and click Sign All so that we can view it together. Let me make this a little larger here for you, but do that after. But for today's demonstration, I'm going to click Sign All. Many of you will click Send Invite, since you won't be physically sitting in the room with the person that you'll be sending this document to. All right, so we're going to click Sign All, and this is going to now open up the signing room here. And basically, this is exactly what your customer is going to see. They're going to get an email saying that there's documents waiting for them to sign. They'll come, they'll just confirm that they are the person that needs to be signing, and they'll begin. And they'll be walked through the document and can sign in any of the areas that they'd like to sign. I know, and I've heard questions before, that what if they don't want to sign right then, or if they have to come back later, and they do have lots of options to be able to save and exit or come back later. Let's say you send a revision, for example. I hear that often. You'll send out a document for signing, but then the customer wants to change their mind and wants to sign something that they want to add more cameras, let's say. I can send out a second quote package. It'll overwrite that initial document, and the customer will then be signing that document. So here I've completed what I needed to sign. They can have a copy emailed to them, and then the next person in that routing order will get the document. So if that's you, you would be the next person. You'd get an email in your inbox saying the document is ready for your signature, which you know, since you're the second in that routing order, the customer's already signed it. And then that can go on to a third or a fourth person, depending on who in your corporation needs to see that document. Okay, great. So you'll also see here that now this quote package is sent and it's updated, same as you would have if you had exported and flagged as sent or sent via Outlook. So it's forever solidifying that document for you. Now, about the new project screen and some other settings that you can set for yourself, I would like to show you some of the things that we have in tools that can really help kind of save some time. So another cool thing, I'm sure a lot of you have been looking at this big ad picture here for a long time. In the latest version that's going to be coming out at the end of the year, you will be able to add a picture here now. So for those of you that want to put your smiling face here, you'll be able to. And what we'd like to do is be able to incorporate that into a document. So that's something that would be great. So whether it's coming from Samantha Perry or Michelle Domino, the proposal document would have their headshot, let's say, or any other picture, let's say, that you've put there. In terms of the dashboard, I know when you look under the new project, you have the 3 different screens that for the nodes for your proposals that you're seeing behind me. I can reorder this if I'd like to. So that's something, if maybe you're more on a system admin side and you spend most of your time in My Employees, you might want to drag that up to the top. Or for those of you that might like to search for customers rather than under My Proposals, you can do that. Many of you, I'm sure, have this auto caps set on. I would advise always keeping that on. That can be a hassle. And then with the estimate screen here, you're going to have a number of different defaults that you can set for yourself. So one, for example, is one of the most powerful items that we have in WeEstimate, which is the GP adjusting tab. What that will allow you to do, just for an overview, I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but allow you to adjust your outright sale amount or your GP amount based on the numbers that you've set here. And what you can do here is kind of a shortcut is set a default for that. So if you know that most of the time you're going to be distributing that adjustment over material and labor, you might want to default that. And if you're going to be doing it maybe on a percentage by labor, you can default that as well. There's a number of different checkboxes here as well. I get questions sometimes that our quick quantity box shows up. For those of you who you don't see that, it's because you need your quick quantity box to pop up here. That will allow you, when you drag a part onto an estimate, you can decide how many, what quantity of those parts that you would like to add. And you can even start a job with a defaulted folder level. So for those of you who are doing smaller sales or very huge integrated sales where you might need a folder level 3 all the time, that's a default that you can set for yourself here. Also here on the document screen, there's going to be some new items here in the new release as well, by being able to set a default scope and cover letter, a default scope of work and a cover letter. So this is, again, if there's a cover letter that you're going to use almost all the time, I would default that so you don't have to go in and select your template. Again, these are defaulted templates like Michelle was mentioning before. You can always have a default, then go into the template and change it for that particular job, but again, it'll save you a lot of time there. Here, I'm just inside of a job here. You see that I have multiple buildings and multiple systems, but I want to focus on the supporting documents here. So I'm going to right-click and I'm going to add a document. So I have a floor plan that I'd just like to add to this job. And the reason I bring this up, and it's pretty cool, is that some of our clients will use this supporting document connected to what they're using throughout their corporation. So a Dropbox, a SharePoint, a Google Drive. If that's something that your team and everybody's using within your corporation, we can have that directly linked to the supporting documents, and thus when you're looking for documents when you're in your corporate drive, you can see all of the jobs numbers and the supporting documents that go along with them. So that's a really cool tip for anybody who's not using that. You know, definitely tap your system admin on the shoulder and say, this would be really cool if we could do this. For those of you who aren't using data lists, this is a great way to capture information. I'm sure a lot of you know that WeSuite, captures a lot of information, but if there's something that's customized to you and your company that you would like to capture, you can use the data list portion here. So for example, if I use a lot of subcontractors and I want to pick a default for that, I can go ahead and have it drop down. Other examples, I've seen people maybe needing different size ladders or other items like that. The last item that I'd really like to dive into is the reporting. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are like, oh, this is kind of the bane of my existence, going in there and running different types of reports, but I will tell you, if a couple clicks with inside the job will save you so much time, and it'll give you really good, accurate information, so you could really see what is successful for you. And I mean, this is on a per user status. Of course, the system admins are probably going to be running a report on you at the end of the month, but for you to be able to keep a good understanding of what you're doing, what's in your forecast, how to fill your pipeline, and really keep your jobs and new jobs coming in order, a couple clicks can really help you with that. So I would really make it a good function after you have a job and let's say it's sent out to a customer, and in that case it would be in negotiation. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save here. But before I do that, I'm going to want to go to the Forecast tab, and for those of you who aren't using it, please try to make sure that you do. Again, this is going to be super important in terms of being able to get accurate sales data on yourself and the stuff that you're working on. So here you can pick a probability of close, which you might need to ask your system admin on what this is set for, but the probability of close, and really in the most important world, you're looking at 70 or higher really to see if it's going to close here. And by default, and it might be changed in your systems based on what your system admin has set, but in this, for example, a 90% probability of close means that this is going to be my 30-day forecast, 80% my 60-day forecast, and anything 70 or lower is going to be on my 90-day forecast. That's also going to correlate with my close date, however. If I put this close date for February, it's going to show up on my 90-day forecast, not my 30. But this is really great so that you could see it on the type of report that you need to see it. You can change those settings for any system admins that are on the line. If you want to make maybe 60 and lower be on a 90-day forecast, you can do that. And then, of course, you have your next action items. Now, for those of you that are doing this, that's great, and if not, I would really make the habit of doing so. Just, a couple clicks and you're giving yourself and your company a lot of information on what's going to be coming down the pipe so that you can share that with your operations team and your finance team and everyone that needs to be involved. Tip here, and I don't know if anybody had seen that in our newsletter, but when you're on the dashboard, if I'm in a job and I want to hop straight to a certain tab, I can go ahead here to the Proposal tab and just hop right into that tab. So what I've done in this case is I've clicked on my Business Forms tab, which for those of you who are not using Business Forms is a pretty new module that WeSuite has that allows you to populate forms or documents that are not proposals or contracts that you may use throughout the sales process to collect information. So let's say, for example, I'm going to click on this job form, and what it's going to do is it's going to take any paper form that you have in your sales process. So if there's any paper forms that you are using right now, whether on the opportunity side or maybe on the tech side, that you would like to have integrated into WeSuite, you can use the Business Forms module. And what this does for you is it allows you to capture different types of information here. So let's say I want to add some locations, and I can put in the locations, doors, things like that for this particular form. Those forms would be created, again, like every other document in WeEstimate, specific to you and your needs. Another cool feature of the business forms is I can send this form out to be filled out. So let's say for many of you, when you're doing monitoring, you need to have a form that's filled out by your customer, and it can be a little difficult because you're emailing it to them, they're filling it out, faxing it back to you. A lot of the same capabilities you have with the e-signature, but the customer can come into this form through a small window that you've allowed them through clicking this send button, and as they're filling it out and click save, you automatically have it in your WeEstimate and can use it to populate documents or send to central station, whatever you need to do with it next. So the customer no longer has to send it back to you, and you're saving a lot of time there.